Where am I?
You're in the Ministry of Defense. It's 1997. You've been cryogenically frozen for 30 years.
Who are these people?
The shouting is a temporary side effect of the unfreezing process.
Yes, I'm having difficulty controlling the volume of my voice!
Well, Kyle,
Yes, Garrett.
thank God it didn't suck.
It was great.
So relieved.
It's back.
We're so back.
The big words are back. We're talking fancy again. Break glass, whole and hearty, hail and whole. Let's roll.
Yes?
I suppose it could get pretty confusing.
Now they're just talking more like Final Fantasy in this first opening moment.
Because it's quality writing?
Well, yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Because they're treating me like an adult?
Yep.
Or at least an adult with Arrested Development where I probably stopped around the age of 16.
Well, it did, but it is treating you like an adult. This whole opening section treats you like an adult. All the assumptions we've had about like porksies, we didn't have to laboriously go click on the porksy, wonder, ooh, is it gonna work? We're told it worked. It worked automatically. Our assumption was met with equal amounts of energy.
I don't know. We've never played the MSQ this close to release. We've never been this quick to get one of these out. And I have this sinking suspicion that like the day this is going to go up, there's going to be like 5 other videos that are like, it's over, we're cooked, the death of Final Fantasy. I'm sure there's people who absolutely hated this patch. But what's really cool about doing this so damn early is who gives a shit? I don't know. Their thoughts aren't in my head because they haven't put them out yet. The only thoughts in my head right now are my thoughts, and my thoughts are I adored this patch. The last scene, they were just like, here, Garrett, have a gift of a scene that is just aesthetics that you will love. That's the very final scene of this MSQ very specifically. We're not going to talk about the Arcadian. It's good, by the way. You should
It
go
is good.
play the Arcadian.
Go play it.
We did it before the MSQ, and I was saying it was my favorite part of Dawntrail overall. It still was after the second wing. 7.2's MSQ is fighting the Arcadian now for my favorite part of Dawntrail.
It's nice.
I really
it's solid.
liked the story that they told here. You mentioned pacing. The pacing is goddamn incredible. It is hard for me to have played what we just played and not feel like it's a direct result of feedback.
The feedback I feel like they absorbed was pacing, and that we want it tighter. And there is a world, and it's so easy to imagine, that we participate in the Porksy dilemma, that we participate in every single one of those calls we did, but instead what we got was what I feel we wanted, certainly in this room we wanted, which was the Scions are their own people with extremely high levels of skill, and they go do their own things because we're doing our thing. We're on the main story. They can take care of the side stuff. And they did. And even the swipes we saw in that final kind of action moving around Solution 9 showcased a willingness to move forward. Also, the beautiful, beautiful vignettes of us explaining things to Sphene when she awoke. Just get the ball rolling. There's no need to rehash. We all remember it because it was kind of laboriously laid out.
I was worried getting into this because of the Arcadian. I said I wasn't going to talk about the Arcadian. I'm going to mention it for a quick second. just a quick second. The Arcadian Wing 2 begins with a laborious retelling of Arcadian Wing 1, which maybe is helpful. If you watch this channel, you don't need it because you watched our Arcadian recap, right? Right? It really does feel like that they fixed nearly every complaint I've had about Dawntrail so far. And this is not me being hyperbolic. This is not me being toxically positive. I have evidence and I have handwritten notes explaining my thoughts, and we will get to them along the way. But yeah, to finish this kind of overall thoughts, this is easily the strongest the story has been in all of Dawntrail, like easily. It's great. So I'm going to crack this open and we're going to get to it. We're doing a full-on freaking MSQ video.
The classic.
Like we've done in the past.
Hell yeah.
Highly recommended. Or wait, no.
Much requested.
Highly requested. Never imitated?
Yeah. What was it? What did the genie say? I never imitated. What did he say right before that?
Oh, the genie?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
anyway.
Miss you, Robin Williams.
4 years of GG. You've watched my family grow. You've watched Garrett's hair grow. It has been
A lot?
Excessive.
Intense?
Some might say masochistic.
Busy?
Might even say the most fun I've had in this game so far.
And while you enjoy this classic MSQ episode, we invite you to look to the future at supportourbromance.com. Live streams, clips, now multi-streaming on Twitch. Everything you see here is due to your support at supportourbromance.com. The future is bright at GG. No! With surprises, collabs, and twists at every turn. Thank you for watching.
New Sphene, just out there making regular appearances. Soon to be known as
We were thinking of calling her a simulant.
Simulant.
Simulant Sphene,
I'm gonna call her Sim for short.
advertising her newest regulator.
So she's out there making appearances, just trying to really sell being an endless to as many people as possible.
So good.
Only those with regulators do not remember the Queen's death. This line of dialogue does not specify if they are the original regulators or the new regulators or both. I'm assuming it's both.
I assume both, yes.
And that's pretty much it for the setup. It is like 2 barely paragraphs of being boring. And then we learn that Kryl has the strongest poker face in the history of Final Fantasy XIV. I would not want to be across the table from this woman. Because just with a complete straight face, she goes, I'd like you to meet a certain someone. She's not screaming. Like, if this were me, and I was about to reveal that the real Sphene had popped out of the ether and is chilling in the other room, I would have ran into garbage cans like Doc at the end of Back to the Future 1. It would just been like, Warrior of Light! Shit, you gotta... I wouldn't even be able to get a sentence out. And Kryl's just like, would you like to meet someone?
She's just pissed that there's another character to take the spotlight from her.
I will not be baited because this ain't her patch. Kryl is involved the correct amount in 7-2.
What is she doing here? We just heard she was busy spreading talk of becoming endless among the Alexandrians. What's going on here?
She is not who you think she is.
Not the Queen of Reason, who has made a miraculous return.
But an individual of flesh and blood.
Possessed of a soul.
So we meet the real Sphene. And very quickly, questions I have are answered within seconds because Y'shtola is there, doing the Y'shtola thing, being effectively utilized as a character and not just as, honestly, like a cardboard cutout that you take a photo with, much like when we were at Media Tour. Because I'm like, okay, well, what is she? Is she just like a manifestation of ether? Is another fake out? What's going on? And Y'shtola's just like, individual of flesh and blood, possessed of a soul. And I was like, cool. Didn't want to cook about that anyway.
Nope, not even like manifested or rebuilt, just straight up came out of a casket. This is 100% the Sphene, not teleported, Star Trek reborn Sphene, no prestige business, clones. This is the Sphene.
The Sphene.
No questions.
The Sphene. Did you like this as much as I did? Just
Oh yeah, just get to it, right?
How quickly they were
Clean
just
up everything.
get through there.
Because if we're going to deal with who's the real Sphene, I want to know that I have at least a real Sphene to have that debate with.
She was suffused with lightning ether. All the tech is electrobe, so I'm not reading into that much at all. Seconds later, Wuk Lamat just blurts out, but she
Died of illness 4 centuries ago.
I died.
Immediately, Sphene wakes up, hears it, knows she died centuries ago, and we're off to a beautiful crossfade sequence, the likes of which I don't think we've ever seen. There are some editing tricks in this patch. There's editing tricks, and it's weird to call it editing tricks because editing is something that happens with film. Editing is something that happens with video. The video game is technically video, kind of in the way you're seeing it, but these are real-time cutscenes. It's a video game. It's a 3-dimensional space being rendered in real time by our overpaid for and underutilized graphics cards. But we have this montage of us filling in real Sphene, Schmeat, as you like to call her.
Schmeat, yes. Schwevel and Schmeat.
Meet Sphene.
Meet Sphene. Schmeat.
I'm not going to use that term, but feel free to use it. And
I don't need it anymore, but we'll get to that.
That's a good point. But yeah, it's this wonderful scene where we're filling real Sphene in, and the characters are crossfading in and out while the background doesn't change. And it's a really nice little, it's just a lovely little flourish. It's such a nice little touch. And if you go back to our MSQ videos about 7.0, a common complaint of mine all the way through was just a lack of nice little touches. Also a lack of nice little character moments, which again is another thing I think 7.2 has in spades. Like every character that speaks, and there's a lot of them because holy shit, there's so many voice cutscenes. They're wonderful little character moments. There's a care and attention to detail in this patch that I just did not see in 7.0 or even in 7.1.
I think it's an adaptation of knowing you need to cut things. It's a shorter MSQ, just in terms of raw hours. Like doing this at your computer by yourself, reading in your own head, you might get through this in 3 hours or 4, but it's trimmed. You can feel every point where another part of the game would have said, hey, go talk to 5 people. And we had one of those, and it was still interesting because they hid little nuggets of information inside. It's easy to have nice cutscenes. It's not always easy to have a nice cutscene with us inside of it. And we're there, gesturing, we're part of the story, we're telling the story, we're visible. And that made it feel all the more engaging.
And also made it feel, again, like a reaction to feedback, because you and I weren't as bothered by this, but a lot of players, a lot of vocal players, because you're not going to hear from the ones that aren't, mentioned that they didn't feel like the main character. You and I said, I think you and I kind of fell on the line of like, we're more okay with that. We didn't really feel like we were the main character in Stormblood. I quite like Stormblood. I would even make the argument for Heavensward. It isn't until I feel Shadowbringers.
This is our future. Our story.
Where it's like all Warrior of Light all the time. The Warrior of Light being so front and center in 7.2 is another one of these things that's like, man, I think they're listening. Maybe this was their plan all along, in which case, hell yeah, cool, you do you. But yeah, we just talked about this with our buddy Jesse Cox, that we were kind of worried going forward that because of all the pushback to Dawntrail that we were going to end up with it. We literally used the example Rise of Skywalker situation where so many people complained about The Last Jedi that Rise of Skywalker is completely devoid of soul or artistic merit, it feels like. It's just like a boardroom wrote a bunch of disconnected scenes to try and please everybody and therefore pleased no one. Whereas, regardless of your opinion on Last Jedi, if you like it or not, it does feel like there's a director with a vision behind that movie, which I cannot say of Rise of Skywalker, and I was really worried that Dawntrail was going to go that way, and I don't think it has. I think they found the happy medium of addressing concerns, Warrior Light's importance in the story, the pacing of the story, and even
The weight of the long years is finally beginning to sink in.
the maturity of the story without it feeling empty or like they're just trying to make us happy and make our brains feel the good juices.
Or be edgy, right? And that's where it feels like that return to form. And I think the highlight really is the villain, our highly, highly punchable Sphene moment.
So for what it's worth, I'm truly sorry.
Oh, didn't you just want to lop her
Loved it.
head off?
But also the Porksy being addressed because we all knew that would work. Or that we should at the very least try it immediately for lightning sickness. And the 9th.
We could give this chance to evolve not only to the people of the 9th.
We all knew it was the 9th. Yoshi P even said in an interview that it was the 9th. There was no reason to elongate that surprise to make it more mysterious for content.
And
Just say it.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't. There wasn't like a push in on Calyx and like, it's the 9th.
No way. What we all guessed was true ended up being true. Like, that is just a read the room kind of moment, and they did.
It was lovely. Yeah, I didn't feel talked down to.
Apologies for keeping you waiting. I've never worn such clothing before.
Oh, that really suits you.
We gotta stop and have Project Runway for a second. What do you think of Sphene's new outfit? Because I adore it.
Oh, it is. It is designed in a lab for our age group of the Y2K fashion sense. This cute as a button. Like instantly you love her. The shoes are so high res. The whole outfit is just like.
And I haven't played 9, but I've seen enough imagery of 9, and you know, and our anyone who watches our live stream have heard me rant about how the aesthetics of 9 don't do anything for me. I don't like the big clown shoes. They got like Mickey shoe syndrome going on. Sphene shoes invoke that really well because of what they did with like the tights. It keeps the silhouette of the legs very skinny, that you can put a bigger shoe on her and it'll read big, even though you look at it, it's a much more modern designed like sneaker. It doesn't have that big bulbous toe that looks like a Disney mascot. They're much more streamlined, but it still gives me that like pop of, I haven't even played 9 and it makes me think of Final Fantasy 9 costuming. Also, just like anyone designing armor in Final Fantasy 14, give us more simplified textiles. Just the plain black top she's wearing before it gets to like the crop top hoodie situation. It's plain black. There's some really subtle wrinkles in it. This is what Final Fantasy 14 does so well. World of Warcraft, Spikes and Skulls. They do blunt and brute really well. 14 does like subtlety, like fashion, streetwear.
Yeah.
Which I know some people complain of. I'm sick of too much streetwear, but like it's fine. There's so much just armor in this game as well. You got a fluted helm, for crying out loud in this.
Dress however you want.
It's great. I want more designs like this.
But a very strong introduction to help in her humanization and definitely differentiate her from somebody who's fake, because she looks comfortable compared to projections Sphene, who does not look comfortable.
I gotta Google what's Sphene's voice actor. Sarah Ovens or Ovens. It's spelled like oven with an S on the end. Not familiar, Sarah. Sorry. I am now though. Dear God, you're amazing.
Nice job arguing with yourself.
This imitation forged from my memories. Well, how rude.
100% feels like two different characters, which is what you want.
Yeah.
It's not always easy to pull off. It's pitch perfect in this patch. Real Sphene and simulant Sphene, two completely different characters, voiced by the same person. I gave the voice directors some crap in a previous video where we talked about the re-recorded Wuk Lamat lines. I don't know if they saw that. I don't know if someone called in sick that day and a temp worker was coming in, but the voice direction in this patch is excellent. The speed with which they make us give a shit about real Sphene. Super effective, and just another feather in the cap of the excellent pacing of this MSQ. I want to bring up the Usher for a second. A bit of a side character, but I feel like we're going somewhere with this Timu Urianger ass dude.
Well, we introduced him multiple times, including gave him a voice. So he's kind of our connection to our world of the funeral director, who is kind of sus and weird and we don't like, but we like Malachite. So he's going to be our door to the main key differences that he introduced over his various scenes. Black regulators, normal regulators, and those who aren't wearing them. And when we went around and delivered his pieces, which honestly was a bit of a like, oh no, we're doing it again kind of moment for me, it was fine because while they did address what they were wearing, visually they were wearing the type of regulator that gave them the feelings they had about death.
And it was brief, and there weren't a bunch of quests like this. I would like more gameplay in the MSQ, but I'm going to be one of those content creators where I don't have a good suggestion.
I don't feel that with this patch. Because of the dungeon trial combo, got a big meaty pile of gameplay right in the middle. There's no divide up by need. That was sufficient, and I felt refreshed for the back half.
I like Malachite. This section didn't overstay its welcome. Do kind of miss the silly carrying crate animation from Endwalker, though. Bring that back.
Deliver the crates. It would have been cute. But yeah, we get to meet the guy who worked at the Arcadian, who was all sad about souls, and he recognized, oddly enough, they put in an option that if you did the Arcadian Cruiserweight first, he would be more excited to see you.
Damn, that's super cute.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was weird that we did the Arcadian first, but the game accounted for it.
The game accounted for it.
That's adorable. You're adorable, Final Fantasy XIV. I see you. Had some growing pains, but you took the glasses off and you're hot. But also people with glasses are hot.
It was a weird artifact of the 90s.
It was a weird artifact of the 90s. Then we're back off to the races. Had a little bit of a breathe in, and then a brand new villain who is extremely emo-coded and also ASEAN-coded, we'll talk about that in a second,
To some.
immediately tries to kill us.
Yes. It's draining the power of an entire block to give us a minor inconvenience.
Which is awesome, by the way. And I didn't really respect in the moment, but I was just so focused on eating up any morsel of new villain I possibly could, because you know me.
No, he essentially like pops up a rock to stub our toe, but it does get us to stop.
Real Sphene immediately recognizes the emo-haired individual. It is not Asahi hair. By the way, everybody, I'm just going to take you to emo school for a second. Those are emo bangs. This motherfucker listens to the Black Parade on a repeat. Asahi has parents who hate him, which canon, but I knew that before I met the parents because they clearly put a bowl on his head and cut his bangs.
Cut the straight line, yeah.
Straight bangs are not emo bangs, or these are not straight bangs. These are emo bangs. Know the difference.
There's a lot of effort here, too, in the presentation. We got a nice screen doing some talking. We go behind it. We get to be in the void with him. We're moving around Calyx. Fun name. Shooting lasers at his pen. Can't even be bothered, by the way, is what I'm picking up about this.
Our demand is simple. Surrender the key. Refusal will necessitate consequences.
Can't be bothered to even tell the fullness of his plan, which is inevitable, so it doesn't matter if he tells us his plan. That's just good villainy. He's still working. Whatever he's building, whatever he's cubing with his laser there, the final plan. Too busy. Can't be stopped by this. Work goes on.
Was he an accurate representation of what it's like to try and have a Discord call with me while I'm working on thumbnails?
You've got practice. I thought he was pretty attentive. I'd say it was about equal.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
He was there.
I've always wanted to be an emo villain.
We obtain more precise measurements. Narrow the range of variables to avoid unnecessary trial and error. That is the most expeditious course of action.
So we get into direct lines from the trailer. However, different reads with different voice effects.
Always fun.
I
Yeah,
always
always fun.
appreciate that. I always appreciate that because it means even though I watched the trailer, I'm still like, ooh, when I see the actual scene play out, the Sphene scene. The Sphenes scene, because there are multiple Sphenes. They want the key back.
We left something in your keeping. The key to interdimensional fusion. You will kindly return it to us, yes?
The key to interdimensional fusion. They want it back. And Simulant Sphene, Sim, just has the best scene. The best villain scene of Dawntrail. I was so ready for who I now know is named Calyx. I was so ready. So excited for this character. I did not expect to come out of 7-2 and be like, Sphene had the best villain scene.
Yeah. The eye flash with Wuk Lamat was a nice touch.
Admittedly, that was part of the plan. Her desperation would drive her to claim the key and use it. And sure enough, she did just that.
This also might be my favorite Wuk Lamat scene.
Yeah.
Because Wuk Lamat's standing up to Simulant.
Don't you dare make light of her love for her people. Don't you dare!
Strike me down if you wish.
It's excellent.
It reinforces her love of the Sphene she knew by hating this one so much. And that's what I love about it. Throughout these Sphene scenes with Wuk Lamat, we're reinforcing how genuine her love for Sphene was during the main story. It builds on her legitimate character. It's kind of cheeseball. That's how shonen is. It's just kind of cheesy. But when we reinforce, we play into those truths of a character, we solidify them, making the character stronger and more interesting.
Like the main reason I talked about at the jump that I feel like this is only as good because the characters are now developed. A common complaint I saw about Wuk Lamat was she was just kind of the same character throughout all of 7-0, which I don't think is inaccurate. But this scene is only as good as it is because of her experience with 7-O's Sphene, which now we have 3 Sphenes. What are we calling 7-O Sphene?
That one does matter if we talk about the past. Because that was projection Sphene.
Endless Sphene?
Endless Sphene.
Endless
yes.
Sphene, not simulant Sphene.
Sphene, yeah.
So I'm going to call 7-O Sphene Endless Sphene, simulant Sim or simulant, and then we just have Sphene. It just wouldn't have been as good without the development of Wuk Lamat, which proves there was some development there.
Oh, that's what I was saying throughout the original. While it may not have been encapsulated well to the audience, happiness is a choice. And Wuk Lamat was constantly making the choice to be positive and happy, even though the opportunities around her were there to be dour, down, defeated.
Yeah, it's nice. It's also horribly unfair.
How?
Wuk Lamat just gets to keep hanging out with her Emmett.
Oh. Well, maybe someday a real Emmett will be shot out of a pod for you.
At some point, there'll be like a reborn Emmett. We'll meet a teenager with yellow eyes and a snappy attitude.
Sure, something like that.
But if they just roll, if they ever break Emmett in case of emergency, I'm going to be very mad. Let that perfect character rest.
So we do have some classic villain tropes here. Some we've already seen in Final Fantasy XIV. Omega, the guy wants to test us. He wants to gather data. And then just a normal villain trope of flesh sucks. Let's all be robots. Or more.
Or something.
Or combine all our bodies into one big all being. Let's turn into energy is essentially kind of the vibe I'm getting here.
I'm getting a building a better Ascian vibe.
With fewer steps, we're doing Varys. How about we become rejoined, and then we can kick the Ascians' butts once we're as powerful as them. I don't think Calyx is worried about Ascians. He just wants to kick butt. And probably not suffer, because he is also a sick kid.
Calyx is a very selfishly motivated individual. Is in a sickly body that has been kept alive for God knows how long. Although there's a line about them like casting aside his body, and I'm like, well, then why the IV? Kind of seems like he's lived beyond his years through extremely unnatural means.
The IV is an interesting touch, particularly that he touches it, which gives it some reality.
Also, he's just so pale.
And Sphene didn't, mess with her weird Sailor Moon device on her hip. So her projected self, endless Sphene's self, was never really called into question whether it was real or not. And when we meet real Sphene, her hair doesn't have the little loops. It still has the little touches of green, but she's not as Disney-fied. She's not as artificial and impossible. So there's a lot about Calyx that just suggests that he is endless. And that, much like real Sphene, there might be a casket with him in it, still surviving.
Yeah, I took him as an early attempt, similar to like an Otis. But he kept his flesh. But he's just like living a cursed life because he's like very vampire coded.
He appears to us in a void. And later on, he's teleporting all over just like projected Sphene did throughout the main story. So he is this upgraded endless, and he is preservation.
What we must strive for next is carefully managed, eternal preservation.
Oh yeah,
we've established.
Just like, because again, like the 7-2's like we're past that. We're moving past that now. That mystery is over. We're not even giving it too much fanfare. We have more important stories to tell you.
Perhaps even more important than establishing who preservation was, we have now established a symbol for preservation, the little kind of, what's the French word?
Fleur-de-lis?
Yeah, the fleur-de-lis, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He's kind of got like this fleur-de-lis.
I was going to say baguette.
But mixed with, it's like they take the fleur-de-lis and they make it kind of medical, almost like our caduceus.
Oh, yeah. It dude seems like an Ascian fanboy. It feels like Emmett or Fandaniel's Kylo Ren. Like he went to Hot Topic and bought, the Ascian wannabe stuff and then it came up with his own Ascian sigil.
It could be. That'd be kind of cute if they took that sigil and transformed it into an Ascian. Like, we can now say preservation just by showing the symbol like we did in the later attack.
Yeah, it's a logo for preservation.
And we're good. And that means we can have subtlety and we can bring it up, but the audience is smart enough to know.
But like a total nerd, he put it on the back of his iPad like it was an Apple logo.
He did do that, yeah.
Absolute geek.
Yeah, he was a pretty big nerd.
There's an interesting line in this where Simulant says,
All is for the sake of his experiments.
and we were talking about the endless. So basically admitting in that single stroke, everything in like living memory, all of that was for preservation's benefit, was for Calyx's grand experiments. So like to me, I'm like, all right, you've confirmed it is a lie. Like this, you are selling full on snake oil to the people in convincing them to become endless, because that's not even the end goal. We were told it was, and now they have revealed that was a lie.
It's kind of like the Matrix. The first Matrix, everyone was happy and everyone rejected it. And that's what Sphene tried to make inside her version of living memory that we saw, where you would match the age of your loved one who showed up, and constant meetings would be happening between people who had known each other in life, and the simulation was fake. Now he's going for something beyond that, something stronger that can be truly endless. And talking about evolution is such an obvious ploy to this kind of idea.
Yeah, and then they even say that Calyx's work is why Sim created the endless.
'Twas for that reason, you know, that the previous me created the endless.
I guess it wouldn't even been Sim, it would have been endless Sphene, whose memories Sim possesses.
And discards, but we'll get into that later.
Well, Simulant discards herself. She just yeets herself out of existence.
Yeah, it reminded me of C-3PO when he's like, if you're not going to need me, I'm going to shut down for a while. I'm freaking bored.
I am so mad I didn't think about that as the Star Wars guy. Graha has an interesting post-scene, unvoiced cutscene. First off, can't believe Jonathan Bailey was even available. Too busy, hopefully making all the money in the world from his Wicked appearance.
He knows what the people want. They want more Graha.
He was so breathy and sensual. Graha mentions that Calyx would know exactly how much ether it would take to sustain an endless.
Calyx, of all people, would know precisely how much ether is required to sustain an endless. Thus, he is able to set a realistic limit to their creation without being swayed by emotion.
I just think that's worth noting. It's extremely calculated, and so whatever scheme they're up to, which is still a mystery at the end of 7-2, it's got to be about fuel. Man,
that's why there's 3,000. That's why that foreshadowing.
5, I think.
That's why there's an exact number of upgraded black regulators.
Please keep that in. Where you're just like, I love the fuck specifics because I don't want to look it up right now.
Because it's important. And by hinting at that earlier, by foreshadowing that earlier, we're able to enjoy his genius and actually note it as such.
And then we get to the big Foundation sector bit, which is our dungeon and our trial, which I thoroughly enjoyed. I didn't think I was going to like the dungeon. When they showed us screenshots, I'm like, oh, it's just kind of a Disney castle. I know Final Fantasy IX fans are excited, but I haven't played Final Fantasy IX. So the nostalgia of it or the member berries being poured over the top of it, it does nothing for me because I haven't played that game. But playing through it, it looks pretty damn good and has some really nice verticality, which is something 14 needs more verticality. It is a very flat MMO. The world design is extremely flat and horizontal, and this dungeon is not. More of this, please.
It reminded me of our Void Castle, but without the load screens. We got to go through this whole thing. It was delightful. It was really nice, and the bosses were fun. I didn't want it to end. It's like, it's one note, but I didn't want it to end. I wanted to keep going.
Yeah, I could have taken a few more bosses, particularly because the final boss is just like
the slab.
The slab.
Yeah, that was
Ponder
weird.
the obelisk, Kyle.
Yeah, that was a reference.
It's
I don't know what the reference was.
Chat was so stoked, and I was just
they
like,
love
why?
that slab.
Why are they?
At least had side guns, you know.
Why the obelisk. Trial was fun. I'm looking forward to the extreme.
The trial's sick. I love that Sphene, real Sphene, was shot calling elements of it, such as keep moving. What a great tip.
I know this technique. You must keep moving.
to just bypass the first wipe. Thank you, real Sphene.
It was cute and plays into the scene right before we get teleported to go fight Zelenia, where Sphene is giving us a tour of her castle.
Before my illness left me bedridden, I used to walk through here on my way to watch Otis and Zelenia train.
And she knows Zelenia and knows some of her moves and is able to give us hints about that.
And this, to me, is the way to do fan service, the way to do references. They've changed the names, so they're not one-to-one, but if you play Final Fantasy IX, you totally know who these characters are, but they're not overdoing it. They get a sense from our chat that the characters like Otis and Zelenia and their counterparts in Final Fantasy IX had a connection the way that Sphene is telling us they had a connection in the continuity of Final Fantasy XIV. It's fine. That's great for the people that know.
I really like what I guess is the Otis armor. I just love classic armor. I love a classic castle. That stuff never gets old. I love the song. Like Roses, something about roses. The Recollection song is very cool. I also really love the evil harpsichord song that Calyx got.
Oh, yeah. Just new villain music. We're not reusing that old Realm Reborn track. Which I love that track.
It does come in sometimes.
It's a good track.
Yeah.
But if you play it, I think Ascian.
Yes.
And so, like, finally, thank you for getting a new, like, generic villain song, so I don't think everything is an Ascian plot.
It sounds old with the harpsichord and sounds new with the techno, and you married them together because that's what Calyx is. But the big revelation we have here in Recollection is that you can just make robots.
What? This machine is Zelenia! Indeed it is. We couldn't preserve her memories while she lived, so she has been reconstructed from our recollections of her.
Endless, out of your own memories. You don't need a real soul. You don't need to even extract memories and divide it from the soul. We could just make people based on who we thought they were.
It was very Whirlit, the Oversoul, and getting the combat data from the best fighters in Eorzea to plug that information into essentially Gundams to make them more effective, but stripping away the humanity of the person that had that martial prowess.
More like an Ava unit, but yes.
Fine.
But I love this complication that it brings up, because now we have all these different versions. What we can do is put together the list of, okay, you got Otis, and Otis continued to live, even though his memories or a copy of him was uploaded to the robot. So we kept the robot, but Flesh Otis died. And then we got Projection Endless while still having Living Memory Endless, which was supposed to be more like that Paradise Upload Memory, whereas Fake Sphene was a projection of maybe the perfect version of her, but also maybe just a saved version of who's in the casket at that current time. We are approaching then the revelation of what is it Calyx is trying to make, and is it more one than the other? And it kind of sounds like it's going down that perfect fake version that would allow him to have his super evolution where we're all energy and all combined to be one force and Flesh never troubles us again.
It was already established that they could have like more than one copy of a memory because of Otis. You know, we had Otis, the robot, as we knew him, but then we also had Otis in Living Memory that we met that looked like a person. But then also in this, they're just like, oh yeah, Sim nopes out.
And thus does my role come to an end. The rest I leave in your capable hands, Calyx.
Leaves the tiara behind. I think it was Shale was just like, he's probably got a copy of the memories anyway, but the memories are also here. So it's like they're hammering home that...
That was nice. I really appreciate that.
Yes, they're hammering home that the memory is a resource.
Because if Sphene had just taken it, we would have perceived it as like a villainous move. Like, oh, is she going to put it on and like turn into her old self? But Shale confirming, even nonchalantly, that there was nothing nefarious about this being left there was kind of interesting. Obviously, it's going to be some sort of plot. I think the biggest issue is that we use the Asm crystal in front of Calyx.
I don't think that is a big issue.
You don't think that's an issue?
Did you catch it?
What?
Because I didn't catch it until I was reviewing footage. Heard it, but I didn't hear it, if that makes sense. When we pull out the Asm crystal to summon in 7 people, champions from across the rift, to help us fight Zelenia, blink and you miss it. Close up on Calyx. Goes,
Ah, there it is.
he knew we had it. He's been studying us. He was anticipating us to pull out the Asm Crystal.
Yeah, we did it in front of his recording of Sphene that he would have available. That is true. He would have like a recording of our fight with Sphene, but now he has actual combat data on its use. And that's really exciting because there's lots of cool crap you could do with that, like build a robot that has a fake Asm Crystal. And we're already doing that inside the Arcadian after all. What is the memory storage projection of previous champions that we're using? But a fake Asm Crystal for that particular purpose. I'm hoping that 7.3 is a nice, cool fight versus evil Robo Warrior of Light and his 7 projections, which are also people you brought with you and evil Robo versions of them. I mean, even if it's like not a 1-to-1, it has your character's face. It still would be awesome if you walk in there and there's 2 bun boys because you brought 2 bun boys and there's a cat girl healer and all that kind of thing. It could be really cute.
Zelenia robot is very humanoid. It's like a robot Ardbert.
Yeah.
Because Ardbert looks like Meteor, like clearly modeled after Meteor.
There's lots of cute things you can do with this idea.
100%.
But you are absolutely right. He does already know about it, so it's not the big moment, perhaps.
Here's Garrett Cook's on emotional beats, because that's what I like. I like emotional beats. I like characters. We're left at the end of the Zelenia fight with an empty throne with no one to sit in it and a crown with no one to wear it. Real Sphene is hurtling towards ruling. Again. Maybe Gul'Ja by her side.
I assume with the adaptation that she learned from Tulio Lul and Zor'Ja had, now Gul'Ja in his place. We have the Queen of Reason.
And the Queen of Resolve.
Well, the King of Resolve.
King of Resolve,
Yeah.
King Baby Lizard.
King Baby Lizard's still King Baby Lizard, but
I don't even like Gul'Ja. He gets relevant things to do in this patch.
yeah, well, and he's about to hack his brains out. Like, they have taken his electrope use now compared to Calyx. We're gonna get a hacker scene where Calyx and Gul'Ja are trying to hold back each other.
Oh shit, that would be adorable.
They're just gonna be typing. Shale's gonna be there maybe too, but she's good. But she's not this savant level we're setting up with Gul'Ja, who is, since the last patch, studied his mom's records the entire time, and she was a sort of savant too, when it came down to it.
Yeah. And then we end Dawntrail with a Ja on a throne, just not the throne that Zor'Ja was fighting for.
And it gives you a foot in both worlds because you have Gul'Ja from Tulio Lul. Even though he was born here, it's still that foot outside the portal, as it were, that makes this a real place that doesn't have to harvest another place.
Yeah. And because of their proximity now, because of where interdimensional fusion happened, they're going to need to coexist going forward.
And
unless it all explodes.
And we could even have a beautiful, beautiful moment here towards the end of our Dawntrail arc where we cleared the clouds outside. We have the technology. We've done weather before based on patches, based on story progression. Make that a part of our world.
Oh, no, you're going to introduce fog that will ruin cutscenes?
Well, not for the people going through it. They would still see lightning storms.
Well, yes. Trying to make a joke, Kyle. Ruining it. There's some great emotional trajectory for Sphene. Because we get an awesome scene that I really like between Wuk and Sphene that I think it happens right before Zelenia. I wasn't sure I was going to talk about it, but I want to talk about it. Where Wuk Lamat is not discounting Endless Sphene, 7.0 Sphene, the original Sphene that we met as players.
The endless me gave him the strength to hang on, and she didn't rely on any special power to do so.
She wanted her people to be happy. Even though we had to fight, her love for them was very real, and it reached Milos.
And saying that her love for her people was true. That she maybe was misguided, took actions that she shouldn't have, but she did truly love her people and want what was best for them. And I think imparting that on real Sphene is important, and it's telling of where Sphene is going. And now that Sphene has the tiara, and it's why I also didn't read into it as a villainous act. It's going to be the moral of the story because we know it contains the memories of Endless Sphene. She's going to take those memories into her own and remember Sphene and honor the memory of Endless Sphene as a result. But then also know all of her pitfalls and hopefully not repeat history going forward.
And it's after the attack, but you have that buildup of the moment of that's all you needed to ask. You just need to ask for our help. There was no need for your previous self to go villain mode.
I don't always like it when characters spell things out so clearly, but I really like that moment with Wuk Lamat where she was like, Sphene, you found the words I wish you had found that time ago. I was just like, oh, okay, you earned that one. I like that. Just keeps things clean. This is a clean patch. They're getting shit done. They're cutting through the morass. They're telling us facts, establishing new threats, and continuing to forge ahead. The Scions are off, doing Scion things. Love it. I think we've kind of established how much we like this.
Yep.
But it's just worth mentioning again that we have a call everybody in your contacts list moment where we call up Y'shtola, Alphino, Alizé, Aaronville. They're all off doing their own thing. Y'shtola and Alizé kind of sharing a plot line where they're like, yeah, we brought Porxies with us. And when we call Alizé, she's out with the Porxie right now, which I just think is adorable because there was this talk about making Dawntrail a new onboarding point for new players. And I cannot fucking imagine seeing a Porxie out of context. We get a jump scare voiced cutscene. Like, not in a million years. I would have bet so much money that Milos's Curing the Lightning Kid cutscene would not be voiced.
I once hoped that Milos at least might be made an endless.
Oh yeah, that was nice.
And it was. I could not believe it. Again, high effort. I appreciate the high effort in this patch. It was a sweet scene. And even though I wasn't personally invested and I was so fearful we were going to spend an entire patch on curing Levin sickness, it was clearly a dangling plot thread that I did want to see tied up. I just didn't want to spend an entire patch on it. And that's why I'm just so thankful that it's multi-layered thankfulness of the Scions, because we talked about in 7.0, it felt like they were shoehorned into the story. They were just there because fans liked them. They had nothing to do. Cut them out of the story so that you can actually get down to your bare essentials and tell a good story that's well-paced. I think that's what they did. I didn't miss the Scions, and when they did show up, I fist bumped because they were doing exactly what they should be doing. They were off on their own adventure, and then the extra layer of my thankfulness was they were doing things I didn't want to spend an entire patch doing.
Surely there's a finite number of these things.
This is just like before, when Zelenia unleashed the soldiers on us. I don't have any souls left. I don't want to die. I don't want to die.
It sets up all these different stories happening at once, so when we climax our attack by Calyx on the city, everyone's broadcasting to us these different things that are happening all at once, and it makes sense. We've already spread them out, and we bring them back together, and we have this emotional exchange with that plot point.
They have their full-on Star Wars battle scene, complete with wipe fades.
Yeah, those were nice.
Oh my god, I love wipe transitions. They're hard to pull off, but I think it really worked for this.
Interesting that everyone in the attacks is regulator-less.
Yeah, you scrubbed back through before we even ended the stream yesterday. You were like, has anyone got a regulator? Nope.
Only the people being like, come on, or run, fellow friend.
Now the game is not over-focusing on this. No one has a line of the only people that are among the dead aren't wearing regulator. No, there's no line saying it, but if you go through the cutscene, ain't no one wearing a regulator. But yeah, the guards' turn, the city guards' turn. We didn't mention that, but some city guards.
Some city guards, some vehicles malfunction.
Things that city control have control over begin malfunctioning, because there's also lines following this from Gulul Shah. It was like, I can't just turn them off because they're also handling deliveries and making sure everybody has everything they need. But he was able to disable their use of weaponry.
Yes.
They're still robots. I feel like they could run up and just crush your trachea with their bare hands.
But that's why they made it clear that he couldn't stop the vehicles from running.
Yeah.
And it shows that he is aware that his power of hacking only goes so far, and he's frustrated with his current standing in his hacker capabilities and wants to improve.
I don't think it was that. I think they were trying to show that he's going to be a decent leader, because he talks to someone else. I forget who he talks to, but he makes reference that he's like, I was just going to shut them off, but I talked to so-and-so and they were like, you're going to throw the city into chaos because that's how people get food. That's how people get fuel. It's all the soldiers. That's how I took it.
But if he could have hacked better, this could have never happened because he tried to get in to stop it while the attack was going on, but he was locked out.
I think you're onto something. Oh, I forgot that he was locked out. Dust body. Body turns to dust.
Yep.
I don't feel so good, Mrs. Sphene.
I was called to attend to the unfortunate soul slain by the mechanical soldier. Yet, when I arrived, I found no body, only a pile of dust, which the wind quickly scattered.
Yeah, no regulator left behind here. It's easy to assume because of the attack that it is a regulator-less dusting, because it was an attack by a robot, not some random car that hit somebody in this case. So why were they dusted? If they had a regulator, then it's nice and easy. They got fully upload in some ultimate upload all your ether that you've ever had kind of way. If there was a black regulator, we can be like, oh, this is the new enhanced version of death where there is nobody who needs to come by and pick up your body, take you to a facility, upload. It all happens remotely. Bam, bam, you're in the system.
That's what I'm assuming.
I'm assuming it's a black regulator death as well.
But they made a point to say, I asked the people in town and they remember the person who died. If they were wearing a regulator, wouldn't they not? Because they would have, that's a key function of the regulators.
And that's the whole point of the delivery quest, is to remind us that since the funeral, those memories have been changed, and also memory deletion is back on track.
Yeah. So that's what I find odd. Like, the game brought that up for a reason.
And if it was just a normal death that we were highlighting, then we would just say it's all part of this Calyx scheme to get people to register their regulators and be scared. Maybe even there could be a world where he, as he says in his own speech,
the old and infirm are weeded out, allowing the species to thrive. Generational succession. This has been our survival strategy.
The strong, and they weed out each other. That people start warring and fighting for their spots in the black regulator ownership department. And then those that are left wearing it at the top of the totem pole at the end of all the war are the strongest who get to go to the new society. But why does somebody? What's the point of that?
Nobody knows.
It's a pretty big mystery. But it definitely causes fear.
I think what it'll represent, I'm really in the dark about it. I don't have a major cook for this, but I think what it's representing is like true death. Like, you're not going to the ethereal sea. Like, we're back to that type of like nightmare level scenario death, like breaking the natural order of death and rebirth that is established with how the ethereal sea, or seas, since the ninth would have its own, how they behave.
Definitely. I agree.
Wonderful.
Super ultra mega for real death.
It's a cool mystery.
Yeah.
Like, I'm legitimately hyped for 7-3. I was not hyped. I was cautiously optimistic for 7-2, but I wasn't looking forward to it. 7-1, I didn't like it. The ending was cool. I was like, oh, it's a nice cliffhanger. But other than that, you made me F off with Kona for a while in a story that, for me, I did not find interesting. I'm not going to drag it through the mud or anything. It's fine. It
was fine.
Didn't need it. It's funny because I always make fun of those side stories on the website. It could have been a side story.
But there's a lot of people who are excited now for 7.3, and that's the show. That's the show that it did its job. We're all excited. We're stuck in a weird bit of, this is the vessel how we tell stories limbo, but that was going to happen because that's what's going on with the Arcadian. That needs to keep regulators for feral souls. We couldn't say goodbye to it too quickly. We're heading towards a heck of a climax.
Jumping dimensions is in our future.
Yep. But probably not 7.3. I think we just keep the key to ourselves and deal with Calyx.
I bet he gets the key.
You think he's going to get the key?
I bet that's the threat of 7-3. I bet pretty short into 7-3, the key is robbed from us. Y'shtola loses another cat life in the process because she's going to be there studying it. She's going to get cut down or injured. Key will be taken. She's got down to 6 cat lives now, I think. She'll go down to 5. And it'll be a race against the clock to stop Calyx before it's too late.
That part I agree with.
I think we're gonna have to kill this guy, Kyle.
Damn.
I really like him. That's the issue with villains in Final Fantasy XIV. To its credit, they get on with it. They will kill people and move on. And I think that's nice because a lot of stories will keep characters around for way past when they should still be kicking. However, sometimes I'm like, but I like this person. And they're gone. They're gone.
You could just Gul'dan out of here.
Could.
I think that'd be acceptable. I think it's a strong character. They did the hand animation for the little pen spin. There's a lot going on this guy. And I think they could easily fart off properly and be seen in a future expansion.
I was about to say, imagine if he begins studying Ascians. Technically, he already has, because we are an Ascian.
Yeah.
If he does escape, if he starts dimension hopping and learning of ancients and ancient culture and all of that. Because it's the vibe. So that's where we're going to end, just talking about that scene where he's sitting on top of a structure and living memory, really channeling Shadowbringers Emmett.
Oh, yeah.
Or Endwalker Fandaniel. Yep. They loved the
They love sitting on stuff.
I guess even La Habrea and Realm Reborn, that is their kink.
Oh, it's showing, yeah.
They like to watch.
Because no human would sit on an edge like that because you could die.
Well, I mean, base jumpers and adrenaline junkies.
No one would wear just a lab coat up there because you would die.
Ascian something will come back into this game, which I'm fine with. I want a break. I don't want them to get back to Ascian stuff immediately. But I thought we were kind of heading toward it, like with him sitting up there and with his little preservation symbol that reminds me of Ascian masks. Like, I really thought we were they did the pushing on his face. I was like, is a mask going to show up? And it didn't. I was like, okay, cool. Thank you for controlling yourself.
No, the reveal of the pushing in the face was that they had more hair dimension than we thought. There was kind of a blonde to the back of this gray, which was an interesting
pick up on that.
It was an interesting bit of liveliness.
I didn't pick up on that because that's Sphene. She has the blondish, greenish tinge.
Yeah.
Like highlights going on in her hair. I don't know what to make of that then. But he says he knows how, does he say mankind? I think he says mankind, which is weird, but should evolve.
How mankind should evolve, shall evolve. I have already arrived at the answer. The time is come to pose a new question.
What? Why? What does that mean? What's the new question? Did he learn about Medion? It made me think of Medion.
Oh, with the camera angle and all that?
No, asking the question.
I tasked her with asking what others live for. What gives their lives meaning.
Did you consider what may happen if the premise of the question is flawed?
Oh. I mean, you could.
How much has he studied us? How much has he learned? Where would that have come from? Because it seemed like he was just studying us from a battle perspective.
Yeah.
Maybe he learns about the density of our soul and then goes digging in the archives to find out about like ancients and like how far did he go back? I don't know. And maybe I'm reading into it too much, but it made me think of Medion. And I don't know what to do with that.
That'd be interesting.
It could be like Star Wars. It's like poetry, it rhymes.
I'm back in Trust Town. So that'd be okay with me.
Dude, yeah, 100%.
I'm back and try. I bet let's do it. What do you want to do?
I'm properly hyped for 7.3. This gets my mark for this is the best part of the story of Dawntrail. So far, 7.3 could beat it out, but I really liked this. It might be some like slower, more subtle character work for some people that are looking for more gung-ho action, but I loved it. All the quiet moments with Sphene were like so perfectly executed. The writing, the in-game camera work, and the voice acting direction, like it was everything was just firing on all cylinders.
There was so much effort. It was high energy. The fight scene was cool.
Yeah. And then on top of that, you've got the Arcadian. You've got a month from now,
Cosmic Exploration.
And then 2 months from now, we've got our new Boja-like, Occult Crescent. Yeah, I don't know. We get asked a lot if you should come back now. And I think, is that going to be its own video? Are we going to do that, or should we just answer that here and now? What are you doing?
What do you think?
They can't answer in a way where we could answer right now if they said yes.
Did you come back?
Oh no, he's leaving at a cliffhanger. Are you cliffhanging right now?
Is this the final evolution of subscriptions? Perhaps it's time to pose a new question.
Comment below.